Everyone, welcome to an iWIN Live. I know we haven't done one of these in a little bit now, so we are just setting up the little final things. Let me pull this up so I can see your questions. There we go. So welcome. So yeah, it's been a while since we've done one of these. We've done a couple member only ones, but I really wanted to get back to doing them and doing them publicly. If you're watching this on replay, you're probably watching on YouTube. We've started to move a lot of content over there after recording it, especially. Trying to see. There we go. It's all good. Everyone can hear everything okay, I assume. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the two adventures I was on. One was a trip win. The other one wasn't a trip win. It was tickets only. But we'll talk about that, and then we'll take some questions. So most of you guys know I just got back from Italy. I was in Italy for a few days. It was a trip one. There was actually one as a text message, a one-time text message that ended, I want to say it ended late in 2019 is when it ended. And I was notified in, I think it was April of 2020. It was very early on. You have to remember that before the U.S. shut down, a lot of countries outside of the U.S. actually shut down. So they weren't really sure what they were going to do. So they notified me and said, hey, we know it's not a really good time. They actually called me. So you don't get called too often on normal wins. You know, sometimes text messages, but in the last few years, text messages are gone. You don't really enter by text anymore. You know, that's like getting to be like people talk about mail-ins. We're going to talk about how you used to text all the time. So they notify me and they say, hey, you know, congratulations, you won this trip. We know it's not the best timing, but we really want you to take this trip. You're supposed to take it by the end of the year, but we don't know when you're going to be able to take it. So I said, okay, no problem. That's great. We love it. We're super excited. Actually, a different guy then called me up, told me all about it, what they were going to do. So we had originally planned on maybe the fall. Obviously, didn't happen. So we said, all right, May of 2021. That's when we were kind of targeting. That didn't happen. May of 2022. That didn't happen. And so finally, the fall of last year, they came to us and said, hey, what do you think about coming now or, in the next few months? And so we said, can we just stick with May? They had made the suggestion May was a really good time. So we decided May of 2023. So long time, multiple contacts came and went. But they were really good about staying in touch. They stayed in touch, and every few months they'd update and say, hey, just letting you know, nothing's open here yet, or we can't have people at the wineries yet. So, but yeah, I mean, it was absolutely an amazing trip. So we'll talk about it and kind of tell you what was included, and give you maybe something to think about if you win a trip to Italy. So we landed, we actually flew into Milan. And I didn't do a ton of research before this trip. In fact, I just knew that we were going to northern Italy. And I actually, until I got the itinerary, didn't even realize that we were flying into Milan, but we were actually going much norther. We were going about another 2.5 hours to a city called Trento. So typically when you fly to Europe, you usually fly overnight, which is what we did. We left here, we flew overnight, we landed first thing in the morning, which is really like 3 a.m. our time, And so for those, if you're coming from the West Coast, you really have a major difference, because for us it's 6 hours. If I lived in California, it would be 9 hours. So a really big difference. But we land, and one of the nicest parts about this was we had a driver slash guide slash interpreter. The guy was just amazing. His name was Mirko. We loved him. We really fell in love with this guy over the course of the week that we were there, the few days that we were there. But he was there, said, "Hey, do you guys need a coffee? You need anything?" So somebody wants to see Roscoe. We'll try and get a Roscoe appearance at some point during the broadcast. See if we can summon Roscoe. But he's great, and he started us on this little drive. And he decided that we should stop like midway, and so we stopped by Lake Garda. Lake Garda, which I didn't know, was the largest lake in all of Europe. And it was great. He parked and he said, "Hey, go explore, have fun, get some lunch, walk around, shop, do whatever you want, and just text or call me, and I'll come pick you up, in the next 5 or 10 minutes after you do." Because most of these towns that you go when you go to Italy, for those who have never been, you kind of can't get right in the town. You can get close, and then you kind of get stopped, and people mostly walk throughout the town, and there's parking like outside of the main city centers. So and that was the case with this. So some of you saw the first video. That's where we were. Kind of walked around, had some lunch, got a taste of Italy. It was nice just to get out and walk around. The weather was gorgeous. We had been on planes all night. So, but then we made our way to Trento, and Trento is basically all vineyards. It is vineyards for as far as you can see, and they put us up in a great hotel. But there's multiple major vineyards, and the one major one that we were going to see was Cabot. Cabot is, I believe it's the leading producer of wine in the U.S. That's the leading brand as far as volume. Did I buy special shoes for walk? No, I just had my tennis shoes. But Cabot is interesting because they hire basically everyday people who have land in Trento to grow their grapes. And they actually have, I believe it's 5,200 people who grow their grapes, and it totals like 6,400 acres or so. Let's see, I think Roscoe's here. Hey Roscoe, come here. Come here. All right, you guys want to say hi to Roscoe, so we'll take a pause and we'll let you say hello to Roscoe. Roscoe's unfortunately losing his hearing a little bit, so this has kind of come about this year. So he's getting up there. He'll be 14. But you're still doing some marketing, right? Still entering for a few things. Still trying to win the HGTV Dream Doghouse. All right. So anyways, back to Cabot. They grow these, or they have these people grow their grapes, and then they partner with, I think it's 12 like independent wineries, and the grapes go to them. They make the base wine, and then they turn it over to Cabot. And Cabot is a huge production. Some of you guys saw the video. It's amazing. I was really impressed. Todd says looking good for 98. I guess that's what it converts to in dog years. So, yeah, Roscoe's always had selective hearing, but yeah, unfortunately, yeah, his hearing isn't there. It's definitely changed rapidly. But so we got to go to Cabot, and they took us in. They showed us the whole bottling process. And it was kind of funny because the lady who was giving the tour, she knew English, but she didn't know like English sarcasm. So I had asked her about where they stomp on the grapes. So, and she didn't quite get it at first, which was kind of funny. But we got to see the whole bottling process, and we actually went to their warehouse. And their warehouse, you probably saw the pictures on one of the videos. It stores 10 million bottles of all their brands. You know, and Cabot makes tons and tons of different brands. So it was really interesting. Like that was kind of the big highlight. And then they took us to lunch, and we actually had the wine that we saw bottling. So it was kind of like to see it go full circle. But just an incredible place. They were wonderful to us. They actually don't do public tours. They do a lot of tours, but what they do is one of their big clients here is Olive Garden. And so they bring Darden, Darden owns Olive Garden, so they bring people from Darden and people from Olive Garden, and they tour various wineries that they have. And our driver / guide, that's what he does for a living. He works for them, and he would basically drive them all around, take them wherever they need to be and take them to all the dinners and things. And it's a whole wine and dine thing for their distributors. I mean, we're just people who just got lucky and won the trip. So it's like he was saying, it's a very unique week for him because he was just dealing with the two of us, where normally he is dealing with a group of 6 or a group of 8, and they all have different requests and demands, and they want him to go all over the place. Where we didn't really care. In fact, we invited him to dinner with us 2 nights, and he came because at first he said, I'm not supposed to go and everything, and we're like, one, you're our interpreter. You know Italian way better than we did. And it was just great to hear the stories, and he grew up outside of Venice, and just how he came to be involved even with this company. So it was really interesting. He was, again, just wonderful. And it was kind of interesting. One of the other things where it came full circle was, and I grabbed this, was Ferrari. Maybe you can. I think the glare is a little bit bright on there. But Ferrari is a sparkling wine that's made in Trento. Out of coincidence, I was at the F1 race literally the day before we flew out, and I walk up, and some of you guys who follow F1 know that Ferrari is the champagne, which is not really champagne, it's a sparkling wine that they use for the podium, when they spray each other. And they actually have a whole bar there where you can buy a glass of Ferrari or even a bottle at the F1 race. So when I walked up there during the race, I was like, hey, it's made in Trento? Their building is actually right next door to Cabot. Now, Cabot's huge, just absolutely ginormous. But Ferrari makes various grades of sparkling wine. But we actually got to see like where their top of the line grapes were grown. It's this little patch up on this high part of this hill. So they took us to see that just because it was kind of interesting how that all tied together with me just being at the F1 race. But so the next day in Trento, we had on our own. We could do whatever we wanted, and there was a museum there of science, and so some of the pictures you've seen, that's where they were from. We went to the museum there, and then we went to the one castle, and I'm going to mispronounce the name. I forget the actual name, but a very famous castle there. So we went and did that, and then one of the coolest things, and I only took like one picture, and I don't even know if it's posted. I might have to go back and repost it. One of the things that we got to do was there's Roman, they call it like I forget the name of it, but it's, you go underground, and the city of Trento was built over the Roman ruins. So you can actually go and walk on the Roman floors. So, the actual roads that they had back there. And I actually have a picture of one of them. But it's pretty neat. You go down 2 or 3 flights of stairs and you're underground, and they built the city of Trento literally on top of it. So we did that, and obviously the food was wonderful. We did eat Italian, pasta, pizza. Risotto is extremely popular over there. Like every place you go, there's sometimes multiple dishes that are risotto. Obviously gelato. So we did that, and then the next day, because we were so far away from the airport, they decided to bring us back a little bit closer. And that's where we stopped at, what is this city's name? It's going to escape me. It's not Lavernia, I forget what it is. Someone who've seen the videos will end up posting it. But that's where we stopped, and that's where they had this mini Colosseum. Where I've been to Rome, I've seen the real Colosseum. It's like it, but smaller, and they're actually redoing Verona. That's it. Thank you, Gail. I knew somebody would know it. It's where Romeo and Juliet's balcony is. That was the question where I gave away the 3-month memberships. Right? Was that Verona? Yes, that was Verona. But we went into the Colosseum, and they're actually making it kind of a concert place so that you can sit and see concerts. It's really interesting. And so if you saw some of the pictures with the seats and the chairs, that's the reason for it. But same thing. Driver parked, let us drive around, go do things. And then we went to a new hotel, which is really close to the home of, is it Riva? The place that makes all those famous boats out of that have the wood. You see all the celebrities on. In fact, they have pictures all outside their headquarters. So that's kind of neat. Somebody asked how long the flight was. So we flew to Newark first, which is like a 2.5 hour flight. And then our flight over is a little over 8 hours, and it's more like 8.5 plus on the way back. So, and no, I didn't write the letter to Juliet. We actually just went there to see it. We actually didn't even go in. You could wait in line, and I'm sure there was a small fee to go inside and actually go to the balcony and take it. But we actually didn't do that. The food compared to the U.S., I thought the food was outstanding. I posted some photos of some of the things we ate, and it really was. It was just outstanding. I've been to Italy twice, but on cruises, so cruise stops. Where you're really not even eating. You're kind of get off in Florence, Pisa, go see the tower, take your pictures, get back on. Stop in Rome, take the long drive into Rome, do the tour of the Colosseum, walk around, maybe have a snack, take the long drive back to the ship. But I'd never done a land tour or a land experience like we did this time. So it was quite different. Do they accept U.S. money? I don't think I ever paid for anything in cash. I think I paid credit card the whole time, which I have credit cards that I don't pay the the exchange fee. So what do you do on such a long flight? You try and sleep. I'm pretty good about sleeping on flights. I mean, most of you guys know it's kind of what I waste my money on if I'm not winning a trip, which that's the case this year. I'm not winning trips. I'm paying for them. So yeah, so I try and sleep. I travel with my iPad, which is fine because I never use an iPad except on planes. And so like coming home was during the day. So I actually, watched what I watched. I watched the Disney, The Making of the Wish. So I had not seen that yet. And what else did I watch? I watched Parks and Recreation. Happened to be one of the series the plane had. We were on United. And I think I watched season 9. I watched the whole season. So, but yeah, normally I sleep. I actually don't work on planes too often. So I find it uncomfortable and hard to do. It's the one part where I kind of just disconnect. Now I also fly Frontier a lot where I don't have a choice. I can't have internet on those. So yeah, somebody asked me about the Vatican. I have been to the Vatican. I've been in the Vatican, but not on this trip. I did it on a cruise that I paid for. But yeah, we didn't go to Rome at all. So anyway, so after that, we had dinner that night. We invited our guide out with us and went to a nice Italian restaurant there in town. And then the next morning, we were back to the airport. Back to the airport and long flight back to the U.S. We missed our connection. So, but fortunately, if you travel a lot, you kind of know what to do. And I knew we were going to miss it because we were delayed taking off. So we were in United. I messaged them on the app. And unfortunately, they couldn't switch our connection until we actually took off to know for sure we would miss it, which is kind of weird. But there were like 3 or 4 flights still going to Orlando that night. And the nice thing was the lady said that she messaged me back and said there's plenty of open seats on the very next one. So it really didn't delay us that long. I mean, we were an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Did they pay for all the meals? No. So, which is very common that you don't. Most trips, you don't get your meals covered. They did pay for dinner one night. There was breakfast at our hotel that was included in our hotel every day. They did take us out to like a late lunch the day after the winery tour. But other than that, our costs were on ourselves. And in fact, when we took our guide with us, we took care of his bill for him as well, obviously just for being nice. And we actually took care of him at the end, and he actually sent me a really nice message because I don't think he was used to that because he does mostly like corporate tours and they're used to kind of everything being paid for. And again, it was a little different situation for us. So we felt, we wrote him a nice little note and thank you and gave him some money as well. Somebody said, what shape were the pizzas? Somebody saw they're almost like football type shapes, most of them. They're not pure round. Some of them are more roundish. Yeah, transportation also is another thing that, I get that question a lot when people win trips is, well, how am I going to get from the hotel? Or how am I going to get to the event? A lot of times that's actually not included. Nowadays with Uber and Lyft, we've seen it happen more where they'll do one of two things. They will give you like an Uber gift card to use or a Lyft gift card, or some of them give you X amount of rides. So for example, one of my trips last year with DraftKings in Charlotte was, I think I had like 4 Uber rides, 4 or 5, whatever it was. And basically I had a code to load into my account, and then when I chose a ride, it just basically charged them. It didn't charge me at all. So I've seen that with other companies as well. We had a trip with Yahoo to DC at the, when was that? 2021? The end of 2021. And they did the same thing. So you definitely see that, but don't be surprised if you have to pay your way to and from the hotel. Sometimes there's shuttles, sometimes there's not. But when you win a trip, it's great, but it's traveling inexpensively because you usually almost always have some costs. Often, if you're going to check a bag, you have a bag cost. Now, when you're traveling overseas, your bag's included. You get one bag. That's pretty standard on most airlines. But depending on who you travel, nowadays, especially in the States, you could have to pay for a carry-on. So I always take that into consideration when I'm debating who to fly, because I always try to give suggestions to whoever's booking them and say, hey, these flights work really well for us. More times than not, they'll book them. Not always. Sometimes they have partnerships or they're within a certain budget. Now, I personally am always very budget conscious. I'm not sending them a $1,500 flight when they can book me on a different airline for $800. Things like that. Often, the flights are very inexpensive. They gave us chocolate at the one restaurant, but I don't think we ever really had chocolate in Italy. So. United charges bag fees to Bermuda. Didn't know that. You enjoy Bermuda. I did Bermuda last year. We did get to gelato a couple times. Who did I travel with? Lee. So some of you guys know Lee. Lee's actually done an iWIN live. So you can go on YouTube and see that and check it out. So she makes appearances every now and then. But for the most part, she does most of these bigger trips with me. She's of the opinion, like for example, so we won F1 tickets. I won F1 tickets at the last second. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Was in Miami. The sweep was tickets only, $3,000 ARV. And I found out, I don't even know. It was last minute. It was that week. I don't even remember exactly when I found out, but it was like, wow, could I make this work? So I'm trying to look to figure out, I had to get my own hotel. I had to get myself there. Now, Miami's not that far, so I could drive down. Who was going to go with me? I did offer it to her first. I think if it wasn't that weekend that we were leaving on Monday, where she was working all week, she wanted to pack and figure out things over the weekend versus being in Miami all weekend at a race with me. So some of you guys know Hans. You might have saw Hans in the picture. Hans has been an iWIN member for years. Our paths have crossed on multiple trips that either he's won or I've won or we've both won the same trip. So we've known each other, and he's a huge race fan. So I really thought he was a perfect choice, and so he actually paid for his own flight to come in and meet me in Miami, and then go to the race. So we were there all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Had wonderful seats. We were right in that first main turn where you saw all the cars dive down into and go around. Yes, the cost of things was crazy. I know that some of you guys probably saw online that tickets were, or a lobster roll was like $450. It was a lobster roll for four, and those were in the club sections. The concession stands were high. For example, I bought lunch the one day, and it was a corn dog and a burger. And that was it, not even drinks, and I think it was $43. I had posted in Discord about the hats, and the hats were no less than 60, and most of them were 90, $100. So, someone asked if I have a real ID yet. I think Florida has what the requirements are. So, if I remember correctly, but I'm not positive on that. Is there any souvenirs that you get when you travel? I look for a Christmas ornament each trip. It's funny, that's what you say. That's actually what we get, which we didn't find one that we wanted. Normally on our travels, we do. That's what we get. Is we get that, and then we have a map of the of the world that we kind of will put little spots on where we've been. But we stopped buying all the knick-knack stuff like that. My grandparents traveled a lot, and they had timeshares, and they loved going to Hawaii and Mexico. That was the two places they always seemed to go. And I cleared out this like closet room that probably had 40 of those straw bags. I've never seen my grandmother with one of those straw bags in my life. They were all in the closet that she must have bought on every single trip. And going through my grandparents' house and helping my father with that really made me realize, yeah, we're not going to do that. So we just don't. We're fortunate that we travel an awful lot. It's kind of what we spend our money on. Fortunately, we've won a bunch of trips, or like you win gift cards that you can use for trips, or an airline gift card, or something like that. So yeah, we just don't. Next trip. So the next trip, actually, I'm leaving tomorrow. It's not a win. Didn't win the trip. But I'm going to Yosemite. I've never been to Yosemite, so I'll probably post some videos from Yosemite, but it wasn't a win trip. I did win a $1,000 gift card for hotels, and it was a voucher. It was kind of interesting. The voucher it's good for up to $1,000, but you couldn't spend more. So if you were $1,010, you couldn't use it. So we actually found a hotel right outside of Yosemite for 2 nights. It was $990. And some of you guys may say, wow, it's really expensive. Yosemite's expensive, period. Our hotel is nice, but it's nothing like amazing. So we're flying into San Francisco. We'll stay in San Francisco. We'll go over to Yosemite for 2 nights, do some hiking, walking around there, and then back. But we had some things that were going to expire. Lee had a travel voucher, like an airline credit from a conference that had gotten canceled, whenever. And then we had this voucher that I think was going to expire. It was either like the end of May or the end of June. So that's why we decided. And Yosemite was on our list, that just a place we haven't been. So yeah, so we're pretty excited about it. Somebody said sell prizes to pay for trips. Yeah, I mean, some people do. Everyone enters for different reasons. I always bring that up. I can't say I've never sold anything. Obviously, I have. But it's really not my goal. Like, I don't enter for things to specifically sell. So I don't enter for a trip if I don't want to go to the event. So I've talked about, like, it'd be pretty rare that you would see me at like a 3 or 4 day music fest. It would have to be a special circumstance, but I don't want to camp outside, so might rain. That's just not my thing. So I don't enter them. I leave them to someone else. Let them win those. Did I have one of the Italian coffees? I did. Yeah, I did. I did have one. I don't really drink coffee, but I tried it. Is a European hotel room small compared to the U.S.? Usually. Yeah, I guess both of our rooms were. I mean, we stayed at 2 very, very nice hotels, but yeah, I guess the rooms were a little bit smaller. Often the TVs are very small. In fact, we didn't turn the TV on in any of the rooms, but we wouldn't have understood it, most likely. But yeah, It is. It's different now. The one thing is, if you're traveling overseas, I carry one with me with my travel stuff that I always grab when I'm going overseas. Is one of the adapters for the outlets. And what I do is I actually, here, I'll show it to you. Hold on. You guys are gonna love this. I don't have the Amazon link for it. I should. But, so I have one of these. It's made by Anchor. And it's got some USBs. It's got some outlets. And I take this with me traveling almost all the time. It's wonderful because even in overseas, I can plug this into the adapter into the wall. But then we had this to use for laptops, charging phones, etc. And it works really well. So, always got to have that stuff nowadays. You got to be careful though. If you go on a cruise, certain cruises will not let you travel with what's considered a power strip, and that's still considered a power strip. So if you try and board with it, you'll get it taken away, and then you'll have to claim it at the end. Did I have the limoncello liqueur drink? No, I did not. I know what you're talking about. Somebody said they enter if they have glamping. I could probably get away with the glamping, but it just depends. I am not. I've been fortunate to win so much that I've definitely become pickier. I think 5, 10 years ago, I just wanted to win. You get like that when you start. Typically, you just want to win. So you enter and you enter and you enter, and it can be for the toothpick convention, and you're like, yep, I'm in. Where's it at? North Dakota, I'm in. Now I've become a lot pickier. There's certain areas that, of the world that I really don't have interest in, that I think are a little unsafe, so I just pass on those. Let's see what other questions we got. What was the white dish with bacon? Yeah, everyone I kept asking about that. It was actually phenomenal. It was a risotto. It was a risotto with asparagus, white asparagus, and it's their form of like a bacon meat. It's kind of like a dried meat that's kind of salty. I forget what the exact name of it is, but it is absolutely delicious in the combination of the flavors. Did I get a special phone package with your mobile phone for overseas travel? No, I didn't, and I know we had internet, and I know we were on the phone once because we actually had a win that we had to call the person back. So I haven't looked at my bill to see what it costs. I know I actually had to make a call from the cruise ship, and I got drilled for $2.50 a minute on the cruise ship just a few weeks ago. I don't think that's what it is. Pancetta. Pancetta sounds more right. I feel like pancetta's right for that meat, but not prosciutto. So I 9 times out of 10 your phone works now anywhere. You just got to be careful what your roaming rates are, and it's kind of hard because so we had $1,000 win over there that we needed to call back and give our information. So what do? Do you not call? So we did. I'll figure it out. We weren't on the phone that long. and then we had paperwork. Fortunately, it didn't need notarized. Somebody asked about the convention, if I have anything special planned. I always do stuff for the conventions. I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, I want to say like all the deadlines come up at the end of the month. So if you're still considering going to Arizona, you're running out of time. You got about a week. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. And then next year we go on to Vegas. Vegas will be a ton of fun. Some of you guys are going to Memphis here in a couple months. I am just about ready to finally sign up. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting on dates for a DraftKings tournament, and they continue to not put them out for some reason. It's driving me berserk, but I don't think it's going to interfere, and so therefore I should be in Memphis in October. I'll be emceeing. Arizona asked me to MC their convention, which I'm very excited for. I enjoy that. I think it's going to be a good time. I think they got a lot of fun stuff planned. But yeah, we'll definitely do some fun stuff. And if you're not going to the convention, I always try and include you as well. So we'll do some sort of videos or something with people at home. So I know some of you guys asked about these shirts. I do stock the gray shirts. I don't stock the colors. But I made like a very big order when I did gray shirts. So until I run out of gray shirts, I do have some in I have plenty of XLs and larges, I know that. I think I have some 3X. I might have a couple 2X left. And maybe some smalls and mediums. But very few of small, medium, and 2X. But if you get with me, I'll put some information Thursday in the newsletter. I can still get you a shirt out before the convention if you want it for the convention. But like the colors and the special edition, stuff like that, we usually do those like once a year, and I put those in the newsletter. Hats, I rarely order hats. Somebody asked about hats. Buying calling cards, yeah, using them overseas. Man, I remember calling my father on like one of those calling cards in St. Peter's Square in Rome. I remember that. Yeah, you can run up a big bill if you don't pay attention. I was shocked. My phone for my cell phone bill for this past cruise, which I mean, I know the texts are like 50 cents or something like that, but yeah, I think it was like $70 some in charges I had to make a couple phone calls that had nothing to do with sweepstakes, but I didn't have much choice. AT&T wants $10 extra a day for unlimited call and data. I'd pay it. I guess, I'm from the school. I used to pay $10 or sometimes more per day in a hotel. I mean, how many people remember paying all that for internet in a hotel? And now it's pretty much a given. But now you pay for it on cruises. The good thing is the cruises fortunately have it. So somebody asked what the win was. So the win was some gift cards and a piece of luggage. So that's the win we had to claim. Yeah, for whatever reason, I've had a lot of wins this month, like an excessive amount. Like I'm probably at like 30 or so. Like I seem to have been winning something literally every single day. Most of them very smaller prizes, $100 or less. But just winning stuff, which is always fun. Yeah, so some of you guys have internet. If you enter sweepstakes, I'm still doing it. I mean, you don't get called that much nowadays. It's kind of rare to get a phone call. Unless you enter like the radio contest or some of the text ones. Some of the text ones you still will get called because that's the only information sometimes they have. If you text a number and that was it. Going to have any live broadcast during the Arizona convention? We will. I can tell you a surprise. I haven't announced it, so big announcement. Will be Harriet Brown. Harriet Brown is going to be there. Some of you guys know Harriet. If you haven't seen the video with Harriet, go on YouTube. It is awesome. We did it in San Diego a couple years ago. She just had a birthday. She just had a birthday a couple weeks ago. And man, I do not know how old she is now. She's my oldest member. She still enters, still wins, still holds sweepstakes meetings in Illinois. That I might have to make a trip to Illinois just for one of her sweepstakes meetings. But she has said she will do another live with me there. So we're going to have to figure out a night when we'll do it. But I will see. I got to see when she gets in and what she has planned. But it'll probably be like Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Yeah, because I don't know what the schedule looks like on Saturday. We'll set something up. Am I doing like a live there though, Q&A? They haven't asked me and I haven't asked them. So I don't have something officially planned for that. I know last time we were in Arizona, like the day before the convention started, we did like an hour-long Q&A that we did a live broadcast. So I'll have to ask. We'll probably do some sort of meet and greet. I think they have set aside a time slot, and I know we had the one room last year, so we'll probably figure out something like that. Let's see. I don't know if we'll have to ask her about her smartphone and how it's working out. She sends me the randomest questions at the randomest hours. And the best is she knows I'll answer them too. You know, she sent me, it was right after the March Madness tournament. I get an email and it's got to be 1 a.m. and I'm still up. And she says, Tom, who was the MVP of the tournament? Forget who it was, and I messaged her back and say, this is who it was. And she said, good. I knew you would know, and I knew you'd respond quick because I have to get the pool together and send out the results. So I was like, wait a second, I didn't get asked to be part of this pool. I would have liked to be part of this pool. So yeah, Harriet's wonderful. Somebody said I'm of the generation that hates answering the phone. I do it unwillingly, but hang up immediately if I don't hear a real person. Yeah, I mean, if you enter sweepstakes, you gotta answer your phone. It just doesn't make sense. It'd be like not checking your email. $1 Million Media often calls, yes. So Valerie pointed that out. There are some judging agencies that call, and if you enter the radio ones, they still, most of them still call. Now, when I say radio ones, I'm talking about like the keywords that you enter every hour and things like that. Not the ones that you go online and you enter for concert tickets or something like that. I know some of you guys sent some stars. I appreciate that. We will be doing another iWIN Give Back event this December. If you haven't seen them, they're awesome. We've done them 3 years now. So this will be our 4th year. And we'll talk about how to be involved in that. But any of the stars sent, I don't keep those. I use those towards that. It usually amounts to an extra $50 or so over the course of a year, but it's it helps grant another wish. So I appreciate those. Somebody says she calls or texts me at the craziest times too. That's funny. Oh, her grandmother. That's funny. All right, let's take a couple more questions. I'll let you guys get out here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't yet, check us out on YouTube and do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build our YouTube brand over there, and we're kind of moving content. So if you tuned in late or you missed some of this, I will save this and I'll actually put it up over there on YouTube. We're not monetized on YouTube. We're not nearly big enough, but it does expand the reach a little bit. So still fairly new, entering since January. We're waiting for when you be part of Discord. Discord with iWIN really was a game changer, and we're starting to hear rumblings of a couple other sites kind of jumping on board, but they're 3-4 years late. I mean, I just don't get it. Why weren't you doing it 3 or 4 years ago? I mean, it was like, it'd be like getting GroupMe now. GroupMe was, when did we have GroupMe? 8 years ago, something like that. So, Harriet is Harriet Brown. Harriet Brown. If you go to our YouTube channel, someone maybe can post a link to her video on YouTube and her interview she did with me. It's a really good one. So if you go under the iWIN Live interview editions. So, but yeah, so if you're on Discord, we have an urgent channel. And the urgent channel isn't, hey, enter this over the next day or two. It's do it now. And that's why it's urgent. Like, I really am specific about what gets put in urgent, that if you don't really do it now, you're not going to have a chance to win. So, Discord is basically our chat group forum. We share information, answer questions, all the radio keywords, all the keywords for TV shows, they're all posted in Discord. Some places have forums, we have Discord. I mean, that's really what it is. While we have a forum on the site, nobody really uses it. Our members use Discord. Now, you have to be an iWIN member to be part of Discord. But it is by far the best in the sweepstakes industry. It's not even close. It's not even close. And you guys know that I'm pretty straightforward with you. Like, if you would have been part of iWIN years ago, there were a few decent sites out there, and they really have just kind of fallen by the wayside. Now, we've built our brand and built our site and built our community, but we're still small in compared to like the freebie sites. I mean, if you're entering on freebie sites, you're doing it to kill time. You're probably not doing it to win. There's just too many people you're competing against. So it's really, really hard to win just using a freebie site. Now, if you know how to search on your own, obviously that's very positive. So, but yeah, Discord's always open for me. It's the best way to get a hold of me, Discord or email. So, but you guys have a great rest of your night. Let me make sure if we see anything else. Yeah, don't miss those urgent alerts. I mean, a couple weeks ago, it was basically a free, what was it, $30-40 that was given out all week. So, well, I will be in Arizona. Again, if you own a sweepstakes site and you're not going to go to the national convention, I think that speaks volumes of how you feel about your members if you don't show up. So you need to make that a priority. So I haven't missed one since Minnesota, since I've started entering, and I try and attend all the minis when I can. I think it's very, very important to get out there and meet you guys and talk to you guys. And just stay up in the industry. I can't say it enough. We don't have a program. We go out and scrape the internet and just put sweeps that everyone has on the internet. We are looking for things people don't have, and we're trying to build connections with people so that we get information and stuff that other sites don't have and get it ahead of time. And I think iWIN proves that self day in and day out. So if you're a member, you know what I'm talking about. You will see it on iWIN. It's sometimes weeks before it gets to other sites, if it gets to other sites at all. which, I mean, that's our goal. And it helps you win more. So thanks for being part. I can't say it enough. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will talk to you guys all soon. Have a great night.